What's up, guys? So sometimes you find a whiskey that kind of just it drinks, it has flavors a little bit outside of its category or its subcategory. So today I have a bourbon. It's a TX bourbon that some of the flavors are a little bit outside of it. Most typical bourbons that you will find, but TX bourbon outside of Fort Worth, Texas. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Got one poured up already. So get a little TX whiskey. TX straight bourbon out of Fort Worth, Texas. So we've had me and Ryan's had the blended TX whiskey. Not my cup of tea. It tasted very dessert whiskey. It was made with whiskeys. It was a blend, so it's made with whiskeys that was from Texas, and then stuff that was sourced outside of Texas. But it really tasted like vanilla ice cream. It's really sweet. Didn't have a finish to it. Almost tasted like a whiskey liqueur than anything. But with this whiskey, it's proven to me that TX can make stuff that's really good. Like their bourbon, they make a cask strength version of this, which I haven't tried yet. I haven't got a hold of, but bottle presentation is really nice. The little label's nice at the bottom. There's a little leather thing at the top. There's some kind of, glass, like little etchings in there. It's nice. It's a good presentation on the whiskey. Little leather top right here. This is my second bottle of this, but even my other one had the leather look different. So every bottle looks kind of got its own little thing going on. But I had this one poured for a little bit. It doesn't have a whole lot of age to it, I don't think. It doesn't really quite specify the age on it. But I've been online looking for information, and I want to say it's like 4 to 6 years. We got it poured up in the Bourbon Fest glass from New Orleans Bourbon Fest. But color on it, you got a typical bourbon color. I mean, it's not much to talk about there. Another little note on this, they've tried different yeasts. So kind of similar to what Four Roses does with their yeast. Four Roses use a bunch of different yeast species. This one, they've kind of tampered with it, trying to find what's the flavor profile they're looking for, and then they ended up settling on a yeast from the pecan tree, which that's interesting to me. They say it's a one-of-a-kind whiskey. I don't think there's too many other whiskeys that uses pecan yeast as in their whiskey. This is a wheated bourbon, by the way. Mash bill is corn, wheat, and a little bit of malted barley. No rye in it. So it surprised me with this whiskey. Is on the nose whenever I first got a hold of it. It doesn't come off like a typical bourbon. It's very herbal. If anything, right when I smelled it, it came off like a sherry scotch. I know it's out of left field with that, but that's on the nose real quick. You get a sweetness to it, but it almost tastes like a dark fruit sherry scotch. Not taste, but on the nose. You get an essence of just like dark sherry scotch, but once you dive into it a little bit more, that kind of fades away. You get more slightly American oak notes. That oak comes out. A little bit of caramel, but mostly herbal notes. Almost like you'd be with a rye, because with a rye, I know I get like a lot of green cooking notes, green rye spice cooking notes like parsley and sage and thyme and stuff like that. And you kind of get that little essence of like a green cooking spices, but not a whole lot of like what you would get with a typical bourbon. Like you get your corn notes, your caramel, your cherry, the vanilla. You don't get a whole lot of that with this, which kind of it throws you off a little bit. It's been a little bit sad. Let's get into the taste, guys. So on the taste, definitely different from most bourbons. Very smooth though. Like I know bourbon guys hate, whiskey guys in general hate when somebody says smooth, but there's character to it. Don't get me wrong, but the taste doesn't fight with you. There's no rye spice in it. This is a wheated bourbon. So very much like you would have with a lot of other wheated bourbons, like there's not a whole lot of oak spice in it. So the flavors come out. It's more of a sweet, mellow flavor than you get the spicy flavor. But that you would get from a rye with like the cinnamons and all that. You don't get much of that in this. There is the caramel, but it's very like light caramel sweetness almost. And then it would go into like an herbal note, which is kind of like almost like a black tea herbal note. You do get a sage and thyme with it though. It's like sage, thyme that you would get from. I get that from typical Texas whiskeys, and I think that's where that comes from because I've had the Balcones whiskeys. Even when it's not a bourbon, it's something with that area. I think their whiskeys come off like with this like heated sage note, which isn't bad. It's kind of iconic to their to the location of where you're making whiskey from in Texas. I got it also with Iron Root and another Texas whiskey I tried. But you get that that heated sage note. Not a bad whiskey though. It's just simpler flavors. It's not a whole real big complexity to it. But if you like bourbon, but you don't like very oaky flavors, this is almost like a lighter oak, where you're not getting all that rye spice and oak that you would get with a typical bourbon. It's kind of in between, I would say, in between like a typical bourbon and a scotch. It plays a good little part, but it's something different that if you're looking for something different, this is a good one to try. Very easy drinker. Very easy drinker. I could see this going into a mix and making a damn good cocktail. But personally, like it's a really good neat sipper too. I mean, at 90 proof. Definitely good stuff though. I like it. Fort Worth, Texas. The distilling company on this is Firestone and Robertson Distilling Company. Is who makes TX whiskey. But good stuff. I would definitely give it a pretty. I don't want to tear it up as far as a rating. Like I was telling Ryan, I'd probably give it a 6.5, like a 6.5. It could push into 6.75, but I've rated some budget bourbons at this level. Like 6.5 is a really good budget bourbon, and that's kind of where this falls. But on the other hand, this one really isn't a price of a budget bourbon. Looking at $45 for that. So, but it's got the same kind of rating for me as Early Times Bottled and Bond, which is at 100 proof, and that's a $17 bourbon, and this one's about 45. So, but what you buying with this, what makes it a little bit worth the price, is the uniqueness. There's a uniqueness with this whiskey that you're not going to get with other bourbons. It's just it has that herbal Texas flavor. It's a wheated bourbon, but it doesn't taste like other wheated bourbons like Makers or a Well or anything like that. Those taste like typical bourbons, but these TX whiskey, it has like a it's smooth. It's good. It's got a little creaminess to it, but it doesn't have the rye spice. Being a wheated bourbon, it tastes different being from Texas. That's all. But it's a good whiskey. But 6.5 for me for today. That's it, guys. Whiskey Couyons. Check us out. We have a Facebook page. Check us out on Facebook. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button and subscribe to us for more videos, guys. Thanks.